Hey there, Tracy. This is kind of part two, but basically in this video I'm going to read some of my book. I don't know how many of you may have already gotten a copy or not, but I wanted to just start sharing some parts of it, beginning with the updated preface. Now there is an original preface that I wrote when I first published this book, and this was originally published 10 years ago. It's the 10-year anniversary. And this kind of goes over just how I fell in love with natural foods from a young age. Despite growing up in Chicago where, brown rice and beans, tortillas, there were tortillas, but we didn't eat those foods, right? It was chicken and meat and potatoes and maybe minute rice from a box. Anyway, when I first tasted, real dense whole wheat bread and had just these awesome sandwiches with sprouts and avocado and all this stuff on it, I was like, oh man, this is cool stuff. And I am so grateful for the Heartland Cafe in our Rogers Park neighborhood that had been opened from the mid-70s on until, I don't know, maybe a decade ago, it finally closed. Unfortunately, it was a great little institution in our neighborhood, a great gathering place. I just first tried all kinds of foods that we were just never eating, and they weren't even really all that available at the grocery stores yet. So strange as it might seem, with all that's available from countries around the world now, the young may not have any idea that this stuff never used to be available. But anyway, I'm going to read some of my book. If you're interested, I'm going to start with the updated preface. Basically, the first paragraph I'll skip through fairly quickly, just talking about how I wrote all these books beginning in 2014 with Make Every Bite Count, and following this book up with the companion recipe book, which is very good, by the way. While the color photos reflect the lesser quality camera I had at the time, I've updated some of them, but let's see. Well, some aren't too bad, but look at all that awesome food. I want to say too, the recipes I had in here are now very commonplace in a lot of other people's ebooks, but 12 years ago I had already published a book with a lot of them. Anyway, my intent behind Make Every Bite Count and all of my books was to help inspire a more whole foods, produce-rich, or at least more plant-dominant diet for better health and more sustainable weight loss. Whether everybody goes vegan or not, to be honest, yes, would I like that? Absolutely. Do I think it's realistic or necessary? No. I just would like to see a huge shift in the consciousness and with greater reverence towards the sacredness and agency that all these animals are entitled to, and people having way smaller proportions of their diet in the form of animal foods. And I think everybody would be a lot healthier for it, and I think we'd see a lot less crime and violence on top of it. But anyway, I digress. After all, switching from a grain, bean, soy, wheat, and gluten-free paleo diet in 2011 to a diet centered around all those various foods, grains, beans, wheat, gluten, helped me lose excess body fat, and more importantly, it helped me overcome an increasingly troubling, excruciatingly tender, fatty, uneven-sized, precancerous breast condition in mere months. Don, whose father died with prostate cancer, also resolved his potentially cancerous prostate symptoms within a similar time frame. Unfortunately, 5 years later, in 2016, we made a choice that changed the trajectory of our lives. We added animal foods back into our diet. I love animals and never thought, ever, that we would ever stop being vegan. However, that's exactly what we did. In 2017, Don and I unpublished all of our books, including Don's very well-written, highly referenced Powered by Plants, which is available for free on his website by www.donmatas.com. A book that Pam Popper used as a textbook for her classes at the Wellness Forum in Columbus, Ohio. Years worth of our heart and soul had poured out onto the pages of our books, only to yank them out of circulation. So what happened and why would we do such a thing? And by the way, we didn't just unpublish our books. We ended our plant-based solution YouTube channel. We changed and dumped blogs, websites. We're talking lots and lots of time invested in creating all of this content. As I attempt to answer this question, I find myself challenged to briefly encapsulate the internal and external forces that led up to and resulted from our resuming consumption of animal foods, not the least of which were changes to our physical, mental, and emotional states. I am equally in awe of the resilience of our body and mind when given the right physical and spiritual fuel. Recent studies have shown that vegans are now among the most hated group. Influencers promoting carnivore diets have grown in popularity. Several have made the claims that plants are killing us. It's so absurd it's hard to believe people believe it. And yet, who am I to judge? I entertained the validities of these very claims myself. That is until Don and I once again snapped out of our meat-induced brain fog. Eating animal foods is so commonplace we've lost our natural empathy. I was told I was too sensitive and too out there all my life, but in reality, having empathy and being sensitive is a natural human quality that we've lost, a lot of us, unfortunately. Judging by how people respond to stories of neglect and abuse of dogs and cats, I believe if more people had to participate in or watch video footage of what happens at slaughterhouses, few would continue to eat animals. Whole food plant-based diets have grown in popularity. As people lose weight safely and reverse chronic diseases, it's a wonder why more people have yet to discover the healing power of plants, although it is happening. It will continue to grow despite the money pouring out from animal agriculture lobby groups like the Cattlemen's Association and others. Until someone has experienced the contrast in physical and mental, emotional well-being between a nearly plant-free animal-based diet and an animal-free plant-based diet, they remain in the dark about the impact continued consumption of eating animals has on our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. All other arguments aside, the fact is, when we consume dead animals, we ingest the chemicals, antibiotics, stress hormones, and the energy of pain and suffering that they endured during their lives, and especially at slaughter. No cow being slaughtered is a happy cow. Our society goes through great lengths to remove us from this reality with nicely packaged steaks and cuts of meat that no longer resemble the animal to which they belonged. It is our ego, our ignorance, and so many social and familial pressures and traditions that prevent us from seeing this. We have fond memories of celebrating Thanksgiving and other holidays with family. But what does this center around? For most, it's a dead turkey. 46 million of them are consumed on this one day in the United States alone. Over 80 billion land animals are slaughtered for meat each year worldwide. That number reaches into the trillions when including fish and the many sea mammals that lose their lives as a result of indiscriminate practices of the global fishing industry. To break this down, nearly 1 million cows, 2 million sheep, 4 million pigs, 12 million ducks, over 200 million chickens, and hundreds of millions of fish are slaughtered each day for meat. That's 140,000 chickens slaughtered each minute. As stated at our worldindata.org, if you believe that the slaughter of animals causes them to suffer and attribute even a small measure of ethical significance to their suffering, then the moral scale of this reality is immense. I believe it is time to call out the mass scale of animal slaughter for what it is, a blood ritual. After watching the excellent documentary, Christspiracy, in reading the Essene Gospel of Peace and the spiritual benefits of a vegetarian diet, which, by the way, is available for free on Kindle, I'm more convinced than ever that this annual bloodbath of animals is the root of most of world suffering. Our callous irreverence for animals, believing that God gave them to us to do what we will, has dulled our true compassion for humanity and all life. Our continued ignorance and appetite for flesh foods, especially from animals genetically similar to ourselves, has opened doors to worse crimes, perpetuated against the most vulnerable. Excessive animal food consumption changes the quality of our blood and, in time, how we look, think, feel, smell, and act. Our judgment diminishes as well. In earlier times, the word Satan referred to one who plots against another, one who opposes, obstructs, or acts as an adversary. In the Septuagint, the Greek term was diabolos, like diabolical, a slanderer, or one who throws something across the path of another as if to deceive, right? Whether viewed as an unseen spiritual adversary influencing our thoughts, demon-like spirits chomping at the bits to vicariously indulge in flesh foods through us, or our own egos. We became convinced that in order for us to feel better or have more life, we needed to take the life of another. We unwittingly, Dawn and I, made a tacit deal with the devil when we decided to go back to eating animal foods, signed in the blood of animals. According to the King James Bible, in John 10:10, Jesus said, "The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they may have life, and that they may have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep." Thus Jesus delineated the two ways, the way of taking life and the way of giving life, or the way of death and the way of life. One could hypothesize that humanity has been walking the way of death ever since falling from the garden of spiritual oneness into separation from Source. We spent the better part of 2 years deconstructing from this one decision made back in 2016 that took us completely off our spiritual path, away from our values, and shut down, at least temporarily, our hearts. We have since uprooted the old unresolved wounds and erroneous beliefs that pulled us back into the meat matrix, and have restored at least some of the clarity we enjoyed during our first years of being vegan. And I'll stop there because the video actually got cut off already as it was because of lack of storage, so it might shut down again soon. I will continue if there's any interest in hearing more, and I can read more than just from my updated preface, but I have been really wanting to share this, and I just haven't taken the time, the opportunity. And so I'm doing so now. So wherever you may be on your path, I just hope you consider these words and consider your actions and thoughts and how everything is connected and everything has consequences. And oftentimes, our very thoughts and beliefs are rooted in something so much deeper that we're just unconscious to. Well, we don't even know what beliefs are there half the time. Some we do, some we don't. So much of our behavior is just dictated from early events in our lives, or even beyond that, in which there were traumas, and we created erroneous beliefs about ourselves and our reality. And even if God did give us all these animals and all of nature, and we're the apex predator to do with what we will, do we not want to evolve into something better? I really believe most people do. I really have faith that humans, true humans, want a more peaceful reality and have compassion towards all life. But they've gotten disconnected or severed from that ability to connect those dots. We all have. It's been very deliberate, I believe, too. So I'm hoping that by sharing what I'm sharing now and in my books, I can just prevent either someone who's already vegan from going back to being a carnivore or keto, and I explain why that this may happen in my books, or if I can inspire people to just try to incorporate more and more produce-rich, plant-based foods into your diet. Check out my books. I have recipes even for free on my website and blog. Try to just fill in your diet with more and more plant-based foods, whole foods, like whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I am not advocating a very strict, perfect diet. I don't at all adhere to the hashtag SOS, never have. And so I can talk more about that in other videos. That's not what this video is about. I'm just wanting to share from my heart and to you, those who may be actually watching and following me. Again, I say thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Let me know in the comments below, did you like this, and would you like to hear more? I would love to hear from you. Thank you.